driver's seat if I can. So
the semi-objectives today, obviously, is to account for some of the stuff I've been doing this semester and report, talk about some of my takeaways. But I'd also like to get some input from you, and I have some, like, if we have time towards the end, some career questions that I'd also like to ask.
awesome.
For some things that are going on right now in
That'd
my
be quick,
life.
'cause I think we got 15 minutes. Is that right?
We have this
You sign
15
up?
minute, and then we have another 15-minute block right after.
Okay. There we go.
So I started recording like a document kind of showing it, so I can submit this. I don't know if you'd want it for future
Yes, you do.
reference or
In
whatever.
fact, the follow-up question that I have for you is how can you share this in a way that students next semester can benefit from?
Cool. I was just trying to make an outline so that I could talk about the things I want to talk about, not forget anything. Then also I was like, well, this is my own personal documentation, keep the things I learned, and then sharing it if you wanted it or if other people wanted it. So I first just want to talk about, before coming into this class, what my experience with project management was, what my outlook was on it. I did an Eagle Scout project when I was 14 or 15, where I organized a hypertension fair. I was raising awareness of just healthy lifestyle in the South, where hypertension is one of the number one causes of death in the community. So that was one thing that I did. And then system analysis and design is another thing. We went over the DevOps handbook. We talked very high level and brief about waterfall and agile and some of their benefits and disadvantages. And then just talked about software development lifecycle in general and CI/CD pipelines and just kind of what to expect in the industry. It wasn't really focused on project management as much as, hey, this is what the world is like when you're not in a school environment.
Okay.
And then my internship at LabStats, I was handed a project document and I was made the project manager, and I was given the entire project spec'd out from beginning to end, all the features.
Okay.
And I was in charge of getting all the resources that I needed to bring this deliverable that they've given me at the end of the project and go through the same SDLC that they had for producing quality and like scalability, all those other things, and then putting out their pipeline and actually publishing it internally for people to use because it's just an internal tool. But since it was internal, it was a bit more flexible. The change cost was a lot cheaper because it was just internal to our department. Didn't need any real product oversight or marketing changes or sales training. So
I'm longing for that. To have internal tools that we can edit and change.
Yeah.
Oh, it drives me crazy. Anyway, okay.
So the waterfall process I felt like worked really well for me as an intern, not having a lot of experience, needing a bit more structure, but also getting the flexibility that the internal tool allowed me to have and being able to suggest other features that I saw would be essential for it or remove stuff that I didn't think was worth the cost, like Microsoft Spell Checker is one of the things that they wanted in there because it's a tool to manage all the product text in our product. And it's built into browsers. Like spell check is built into Google on every text field on Firefox and Edge. And so I was just like, it's going to be a lot of work to develop this, to hit this API, and Microsoft charges you per hit, per lookup. And so it would have been, how do we best utilize their API and reduce costs? And I was just like, how often is this really going to be used in this context that Google Spell Check isn't sufficient for, or any plugin that you can just put in for free in the browser? And so they're like, yeah, scratch that.
Cool.
Like, I don't know, they're very open to that kind of
stuff. Wise recommendation.
Yeah. Or I recommended like being able to add a new language instead of just editing the language files that they have. And then it would be able to export a spreadsheet document to be able to send out to freelance translators that we're using. And they're like, well, it'll only be used like 8 or 9 times because we're not planning on translating it that much. Let's go talk to people doing the translation management and see how much that would save us by sending it in an Excel document rather than an XML file.
Where did you get your cost orientation? How do you develop your approach, the way you approach cost?
I don't know. Just
because it's not common. amongst the
So-
students that come through here? That's why I'm curious.
I would say that my most experience dealing with cost awareness
Mhm.
would be in my job as doing lawn care. I manage my own truck doing fertilizing, sprays for lawn herbicides, and then tree care for insecticides and fungicides. And every single order that I did, I would have the bid that other people made the bids. I didn't get to do that part, but I had to do this, like write down basically what I use, and for legal reasons had to report that for the Department of Agriculture, but also for the customers, so they knew that what was getting put down, and then our company knew the cost. And then they knew how long it took me pretty much to do it based off of the start times of everything I got done in the day.
How old were you when you did this?
I mean, so I was doing the 3 summers before I came to work at LabStats.
Okay.
So 20 to 23.
Okay.
And it changed the way that I treated certain customers, because I knew if they were a bit low that I was just doing the bare minimum to get them the best quality that I could get with that price. If it's a commercial person,
Because it's one of the areas that in this class most students don't touch. They avoid the cost stuff. When I get a choice, though, I don't like.
I'm also super invested on
Okay.
like entrepreneurship, and I would really like to start my own thing one day, even if it's just on the side of whatever else I'm doing in my career. So I feel like
I understand
that
the
has
flow
come
of
with
that.
it. I took an intro to entrepreneurship class during the summer break, and then I took an entrepreneurship class in high school, and that was, of course, part of it, the whole cost benefit, risk analysis, investments.
It's one thing I'm an advocate of is like value chain analysis. Understand where the value is being built in and understand the process. And be able to analyze it down to that level, it really helps you in decision making.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely. But I guess to sum that up, I just suggested that feature. We went and did the cost and the benefit analysis, and they said it'd save $2,000 per translation to have it in an Excel sheet format, which I was already building into for other features in the app. So it was probably 3-4 extra hours of my intern pay. I was getting paid like $10 an hour, so $30 to $40 for
Just
$2,000 per translation. And they've already done 3 or 4 translations with that feature. So definitely a return on my entire internship.
And that ability to compare, to do a cost analysis on process improvement is very key in the IT field.
Yeah.
We need to be able to understand how those things relate to each other. So I'm glad you picked it up. I try to help students find that in this class, but they don't really want to find it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I feel like it's hard to, depending how much experience you've seen outside the classroom, and that's your perspective on life in general and your own personal life and self-reliance and things like that. But my next, the other thing leading up for my personal experience in this for project management would be as a team lead at LabStats. I was responsible for managing the project managers on our team. And when I first started, our whole approach was still waterfall, and we were just defining it more what project managers' responsibilities were, because some of the seniors on our team were not taking the initiative they needed to really own these projects and drive them through our software development lifecycle.
I think that's a key to success for a project manager.
It's completely essential, especially if people are depending on you and you have to account for what you're doing and give accurate estimations. We're not a data-driven department, but we still need to have a grasp on how long things should be taking.
Everybody else cares. You
Yeah.
be able to respond and be able to answer those kinds of questions.
Yep. Well, and just for yourself, knowing when to schedule things to do what, the whole flow control. I'm trying to remember who was talking about the kid who did the wood stove. Did a presentation on knowing how long things would take, because you might want to do it in this order because of that, with your constraints that you have in place. Will change your timeline of things. But yeah, it's very much waterfall approach. And then we just got stricter and stricter with that. Made spreadsheets that help them break up their projects into organized chunks that we called milestones, and subcomponents of those milestones that they'd estimate out the work, and then they could only work on one milestone at a time. Because what was happening was people were starting their projects and just shotgunning out to all these different areas, trying to walk it here until they hit a stop, and it got harder, and we'd hit here, and then we'd hit here, and hit here, and we'd have 6 months later, nothing was near ready to even be shown to people. There was no MVP possible. There was none of that. It was just a broken state across the board. Everything at 70%, which is not anything. Yeah, it doesn't work at all. So we thought milestones. At least if you leave to go on vacation, somebody else can pick up this next milestone. Or there's just so many advantages that we saw with that. And then as we started the class, I'm gonna skip, I guess.
I was gonna ask, are you willing to show some of this in class?
Yeah, I saw today that they're signing up for presentations for today, Friday. So I was thinking Friday would be awesome. I just wanted to actually have something to show them.
Okay. So we can address some of your other questions, and if we don't get back to this, we can pick up some of the class probably.
Okay. Sweet. And then I guess just since it relates so well to this, I'm just gonna skip now to since I started the class, and we'll come back and talk about what I'm doing to learn.
Okay.
In my team lead role, the hierarchy at LabStats as far as employment is our CEO, the department heads, and then for our department, it's like the team lead and then the rest of the team. Okay. And so I interact directly with my manager, who's the head of product and engineering, and tries to wear both hats at the same time. We're shifting away from that now. He's going to put himself still at the head of product and engineering, but they're going to hire a dev manager for that. But my role is to interact directly with that manager role and really define what our software development lifecycle is, how we're doing project management, and we both were thinking that yes, this would be better for people who can't take initiative, this waterfall approach. But we don't want that. So we let the guy go, that our senior that just wasn't pulling his weight, wasn't mentoring, wasn't being who we needed him to be and what his job role was asking him to be, despite a couple of years of trying to train him into that role and get him to do it. And it was unfortunate to lose somebody that we really liked as a person, but he just wasn't picking up on the values that we really needed. So we decided that we were.
Letting go process happen.
It was. I didn't have to talk to him about it, but I knew multiple days in advance because the same day that we were letting him go, we were letting go 4 or 5 of our guys in the sales department who were just not doing what they were supposed to be doing, productivity issues and even showing up to work issues. Our company decided instead of investing in these people that are being very mediocre in their investment to the company, to put it into the development department. So we're getting 4 more developers this year, and we're switching.
Those are tough decisions.
Yeah, it was really hard. We fired the head of sales, and 4 of his guys only kept 2 of our sales guys. But those were the 2 guys that actually were invested on learning what our product was, and we're in a very technical environment. Who we're selling to are lab managers at universities. They have degrees and experience in the industry, and you have to be able to talk with them and be invested in making meaningful sales for them, not just trying to get your commission to go up. So they changed the whole compensation model. They did a lot of stuff to try to correct the behavior that was coming from everybody that they were hiring. So he got let go that same day, but that left me while these guys were all in their interviews to be told they're going home, especially our senior who had lots of access to things, was to go and lock them out of everything, change permissions, just do all the exit stuff. And it was pretty intense. I had about 5 minutes, 10 minutes to execute on all those things because they try to keep the meeting brief. And it was hard because we really liked him. He's awesome. I mean, he got hired right away in Melaleuca because they have roles that what he does awesome. But it shook the company a little bit.
Have you talked to him since? It's always interesting to follow up and just see how things. And it's hard to navigate that, but when you ever get the chance, if you can follow up with them, it's interesting because a lot of times they recognize, wow, that was one of the best things that ever happened to me.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I feel like he really liked the company. He really liked the benefits that he had as far as work-life balance. And Melaleuca, he'll still get some of that, but he'll lose a lot of freedom going there, and their company culture is very different. And he actually resented lots of the things, like specifically resented lots of the things that Melaleuca does with their developers, but I think his view into it was much more limited than what he's getting now. And being on a specific team that builds services and is much like you get to enjoy doing what you like to do if you just want to program and kind of be more heads down, just do your work kind of thing. And he worked remotely for 10 years before coming to LabStats, so he has a different conditioning as far as how he likes to work. It just wasn't right for our team environment. Everybody has to be invested in everybody in what we're doing. Really, everybody has to be able to trust that everybody is being open and honest about what's going on and accountable. And he didn't have so many of the qualities that we needed as far as that goes.
Okay.
But with him gone, we decided we needed to change our project management approach because we're only going to hire people we can rely on and expect them to come in and be able to pick up a new project management style. And so we switched to more of an agile approach. Let's see if I can pull it up here real quick. Where we have, instead of these giant project requirement documents, we have Trello boards for each project that's ongoing. And a project is complete in phases instead of just, oh, it's complete, it's shipped, we never have to touch it again. Because we're trying to change the mindset of the company a little bit. Okay. No. And we order all of the, so Trello is kind of limited in what you can do with it. You can't really set up swim lanes and you can't do like traditional Kanban stuff with it. So what we do is we just take advantage of the multiple boards, and me as the team lead and the manager, we prioritize which projects are most important and what things need to be done first. So as a developer, you come in, and if you're done with whatever you just finished, you come into the next project. We're doing everything as teams now.
That's interesting because you're using Azure DevOps for all your other work, but you're not using the boarding in Azure DevOps.
It's very it's inflexible. Like once you choose a path on it, you have to stick on that path. It's really hard to change, and we just needed something simpler with less overhead to get stuff out. Because our biggest constraint before this really was getting those project documents from product. We would finish our projects, and they wouldn't be ready with the specs for the next one, and we didn't have time to do like reflections and iterations on the work we were doing, which is just archaic for doing software development, especially software as a service, where we're supposed to be updating and updating and updating and bringing out new, not just new features, but continual updates on what we already have. We switched to an MVP mindset, and I had lots of these conversations with my manager. He was all for it, but he just didn't get like, how do we go this direction? What does that really look like for our team and what we need to do? And we found all these complicated ways to do it, or more complex ways, like using Azure DevOps and really going full agile with defined iterations and defined workflows. I don't know why Trello isn't letting me go. Oh, it's because I have my personal one open. Yes. I'll be sure he's not. So right now, our current priority is getting macOS Catalina support with their new gatekeeper policies and whatever. It's not a huge project. It's just a lot of work in each of these cards. But we're doing more of the user story approach, where we talk about everything it needs, what the problems are that need to be solved, and then, well, before that even, we do a team meeting where we come through and we take the problem and we analyze every solution that we can possibly spitball out there, as well as other problems that are related to this. And we try to collaborate on what path we really need to take. And once we are on a consensus of where we need to go, we make these user stories, get it out on a board, and then everybody knows where they can go for work and what's going on. Everybody has to kind of be aware of everything in our small company anyway, so it works out really well. Even though there's some context switching, since this is the priority for a couple weeks, everybody kind of stays on it for a couple weeks. And we come get tasks assigned to us or grab tasks, move them over, and then once you're done with your task, you go to the next one that says current priority. It's kind of like that iceberg model that you had shared with me about that somebody took an agile approach to moving. They had like this iceberg chart where everything above this line can be done. And that's what we're doing with tags here. And this is kind of cool because I was figuring this out for my own while we were doing our move board. It's not going to update it now that I'm locked out.
Using two separate browsers, open so I can have different credentials code on either.
I should just start my but I just did tagging, similar to this with dates of when these should be done, and that was kind of our line. I had never seen that iceberg model to kind of know that was a thing.
It's not common. I just found it in that blog post, and that this has some
I
merit
thought
to it. I like
such
this.
a cool analogy, especially for simplistic things. Like we do time analysis in a different way through T-sheets. Everybody logs their time and what kind of category of work they're doing. So this is an infrastructure support. So we don't really want to do a burn down chart. So we didn't feel like it was going to give us some of those values that we wanted outside of what we were already getting. And plus, we didn't want to add more overhead to our small team and document all that time. We just wanted to get it out. And so that's why we did this iceberg approach.
4 minutes. I'll move to some more questions.
Okay. Oh man, this is for, we already took a half hour.
Yeah. It goes quick.
Oh, man.
Especially when you're trying to show a whole semester's worth of work. That's why I tell people, don't wait till the end. Come in periodically.
Yeah. Well,
and just like the iterations, if you come in and do your evaluations and iterations, you find that you start to get more out of it.
Yeah. I might have to ask my questions later, but I just wanted to kind of highlight some of the projects I did.
Okay.
So for the interdependent mode, I didn't really understand what that was supposed to be. I was trying to do it with my interaction at work with my manager. We were both had prior knowledge and experience, trying to come together to make something new that was going to work for our team at work. And that's what it evolved into. And it's been working way better than anything we've done in the past. And it's really fit into that agile mindset of being able to get the feedback loops in and being able to really get stuff out the door faster with that MVP mindset.
I'm not trying to bug you, I'm just trying to make sure I know who the next guy is. Guy coming next, just give me a note, he's 10 minutes late.
Sweet.
I'm just going to go back here so you can focus on everything.
Cool.
Okay.
So I already talked to you about the time that I repaired that little car, and we had that recorded. So I'm going to skip that for now.
Okay.
But we already talked about the takeaways that was awesome from project management and gospel living.
You've been able to take any of those lessons forward in other places yet?
Yeah, I just feel like with what we're doing right now at work, I have to make a Wix installer. Never done that. Nobody in our company has really done that, but it's free in comparison to paying $2,000 a year for an installer product. Yeah, so my whole approach to that's been different. Going to the documentation first instead of just hitting it hard.
Okay.
It's been the beast of a project. But the first app that I took on was that scripture commentary app. I'm sure you remember. I put it on our team, on our class Google Docs, saying that, hey, anybody that wants to come contribute, and contribute. Daniel was the only one that bit on that hook. And we went through it. We defined a process of how we were going to. Sorry, this is from his Windows service.
There's not that many that would have been really strong team members.
Yeah.
Or something like this.
Yeah, and with the way that it ended up, I'm really glad nobody else did it. So we defined a process. We were all geared to go, and we started on it, trying and prototyping all these different pre-made wiki softwares before we made our own.
Okay.
And that's what he was more interested in, was the whole operations and hosting and getting on Azure and our own computers and using Docker and finding all these cool ways to do it, which was awesome and learning for the tech world. But then we were getting into it, and we were ready to prototype an actual, hey, this is what it's going to look like with scriptures, and we ran into the intellectual copyright issues.
Yep.
And I emailed the church intellectual property right office and let them know the situation. They're like, hey, like the next week they let me know, hey, this is the process for going through it. And I was like, sweet, that's awesome. I'm not going to take ownership of that. Like, I'm going to give that back to Brother Rao because this is his thing. I'm going to let him do it.
Nice first name.
BJ Rao.
There's a Dale Rao.
So we kind of tabled the project for this semester. I'll be working with him over the next couple of years with different projects that he has in mind, just because they're easy ways for me to maintain.
And I know students have had success obtaining that before. We've had people work on the hymnal apps and those kinds of things.
That's cool.
So I know it's possible.
Well, and I know that they have like the scripture reminder app and the scripture mastery apps that people outside, like in the church, but not working for the church have made. So I know it's possible, and that's why we have a process for it. But I didn't know how long that was going to take. And Brother Rao this semester was finishing up his dissertation, getting it challenged and published, and like all that stuff. So he didn't have the bandwidth to work on it, so I didn't push on him.
Been down that before. Yep.
So
I appreciate that.
We backtracked and we kind of cut that short. And just my main takeaway was do your legal research up front, like before. Like in the planning phases, that needs to be done. You waste a lot.
I think you have to treat it as a risk.
Yeah.
It functions like a risk, so I think you need to handle it like a risk. Develop your contingency plans, develop your strategy for how to evaluate that in light of other risks and figure out where to put your energies.
Yeah.
Okay.
So for the other big project I did this semester was moving from Woodland Hills to Corona Loma. And we made that same Trello board kind of mindset with hundreds of cards.
The browser, didn't you?
I was still logging out. But my wife had never used Kanban before, this kind of style to getting things done. As normal, we had 7 weeks to get everything done. They were supposed to come back the afternoon of the 30th, which was 2 Saturdays ago. And that ended up getting moved up to Friday morning they were coming back. And which meant that instead of being out Saturday morning, we would be out Thursday night. So it moved up our deadline. But because we had approached this so early, we had Thanksgiving on Friday. We did the same kind of tagging thing and then gave different priorities, and that's how we knew what to work on. And at first, I was trying to manage most of it, and my wife wasn't supposed to work on anything unless I was there to also work on it and know what was going on. But then that just was like so inefficient.
Say it is.
And so we became.
That's why trust models are so important.
We did more autonomous operations. If the work's there and it's visualized, if it's above this line, right, of getting it done, that's what we do.
Awesome. And
we defined what was worked as finished and complete for packing, for loading, cleaning, and if we had a ton of outside stuff. Their home is 4,200 square feet, 3/4 acre lot, and there was a lot to get done and put everything back the way it was when they had left. And it was kind of stressful because the people we're house sitting for now, the place we moved into Saturday, is the sister of the wife that we were house sitting for.
Okay.
And so it was like they knew each other. We knew that it was going to be a direct reflection, basically. We wanted them to be able to still go on their mission and trust us, and not be like, oh no, they like left this place trashed. And so there was a lot of other interests in here.
Pretty high bar.
But I researched lots of tools for this. Was one of the things that was cool. Is besides Azure DevOps, we did Plan.io, Trello, and Redbooth. And then there was a couple others that I couldn't remember. But these were ones that I did free trials with. And just try to figure out.
Found some value in them.
Yeah, Plan.io is an awesome suite. Has everything from your Kanban boards and project management and charts and all that kind of planning stuff to documentation, wikis, and a lot of stuff built into this app. It's very much a suite of tools instead of just one. It's really cool.
That sounds like, would it be a potential candidate for sharing in the class?
The thing is, you only get like a 2-week trial, and you have to pay for it. Like that's the thing. I was just taking a look at it.
That's why I miss Google Community.
Yeah, free stuff.
It was free stuff. Everybody had a Google account. People could use it after they left, and I had some that did. Students that would look back 3 years later, 5 years later, they'd come back to the class and add some thoughts, or they'd interact with somebody about their project. And I'm like, this is awesome! And then again, still looking for something that would be good.
You just have to build one of the projects.
I've pitched that. I've pitched that at the beginning of this semester. Nobody took me up on it. And I think it's because it sounds very onerous. It sounds big.
It is. It does sound big, but it's...
But really, the stage one of it is, can you just post links to stuff?
Yeah.
That'd get us started.
Mm-hmm.
Just a place where you can post links and say, hey, I'm working on this, here's the link. Hey, I'm working on this, here's the link.
Yeah.
Just to raise awareness and give that beginning stage of being able to exchange information with each other.
Yeah.
And Teams kind of does that.
Yeah, but now it's the whole acceptance. And
it is.
So it's getting on it and getting your notifications set up, and the adoption is just...
For some reason, Google Community was just this much higher than Teams.
Yeah.
As far as adoption.
Everybody's used to that platform.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Well, this project, my main real takeaway from this, the real value for me was doing a project that didn't have defined hours and scope that I was able to do. Like, I had a timeline of when I had to get it done. There was no, you get 8 to 5 to do this.
Different kind of estimation.
Mm-hmm. Totally different kind of estimation. And that's why we did that whole tagging technique of what was prioritized and how we approach things, and allowed us to switch things around really quick when the weather was nice to be able to do things outside, because we had that freeze come in early, and then it thawed out, so I was able to finish things. But it really made me take a different approach on everything that I'm doing in my life. Everything became a project. Time management has become a lot more of a focus for me and my wife. Of what are we taking on, and how are we going to fit it in, and how do we break that up? What is really required for this, and how long do we really think it's going to take? Is it worth it? Up front, thinking about those things, and just how it's changed this semester for me as far as each class is a project. It's part of a program. It's part of this portfolio of this degree, and then the solution of getting an education, right? And my planning tools are different. And I originally didn't think I was going to be able to graduate until July of next year. And that's what I told my employer when I signed on. They said that I'd have this, I'd be working part-time. But then I was able to do the summer break, and then I was able to take a Portuguese test out exam on Monday, which studying for that in its own was a project. But I was able to pass it and got the remaining 12 credits that I needed of electives. Well, 10, but I got 12. And so I don't have to, I'm done for next semester, I just have to do my practicum. So I can start full-time in January. And I didn't think I would be able to until the end of July, beginning of August. And just, when you look at life as, with that next step in mind, which, with this project, we got to the house, and we totally forgot, we didn't plan on moving it. And so, it's not just the project that you're working on, but what's next, what's beyond, so that you can, scope that project correctly and really direct it.
It makes a difference. It's on the other end.
Yeah. I don't want to keep it from next.
You would probably benefit from the afternoon section is doing something I call Project Life. And that's their final. So they're looking at how to develop plans for life. But their challenge I gave them is I said, that's a great goal. What I see in that is that you could put a whole lot into it and not get a whole lot out of it sometimes, because an example, when I worked on the U.S. Visit program, they developed a 300-page work breakdown structure for this 10-year project. Paid a contractor to do it. When I came in as an auditor, it was my auditing group. That was one of the documents they gave us, and we looked at it. Nice. So one of the first, we didn't know what to do with it.
Right.
So the first question we asked when we went in for an interview was, so tell us how this, where are you at on this project plan? I have no idea. Okay, who uses this? I don't know. Okay, well, we can set that aside then.
Oh.
We didn't, but that happens. You can spend a lot of time developing these great plans, and if you're not going to do anything to actively follow or update or stick with, might as well it's a paperweight. It doesn't matter. And so that was my fear with this Project Life thing. So I challenged them. I said, instead of turning this into just a big project, big life plan, I mean, that's not a bad thing. Let's do it. That's a good thing to do. But let's try it a different way. Let's try plan out your week this week. And whatever mechanisms you use to plan out your week this week, use that to inform how you're planning out your life project. And any techniques that you want to try for your life project, try them out on the small scale for this week.
Right.
See what that tells you. And let's work through they had 2 weeks to do it, so I said, let's work through 2 iterations that way and see what that teaches you. I think you'll walk away with more doing it that way than you will just creating one big life project plan. Because my other question was, if you just build a life plan, how are you going to evaluate whether it was good, bad, or ugly?
Yeah.
We'll all get in there and say, I feel great about my plan. Great. That doesn't take me anywhere. That doesn't tell me if you've got any value out of it. But if you put it into practice and test it out and learn from it, now you start to validate what's working and what's not.
Yeah.
A little quicker. You get a little bit more feedback. Is it perfect feedback? No. It's better than what we were doing before and just throwing it up in the air and saying, I feel great. I deserve an A because I feel great.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, anyway. Okay.
Wish I had more time. But
Yep. I know that feeling.
for the dependent about it is just the Pluralsight courses that I've shown you in those paths that I've been doing.
What'd you get out of it?
It's super valuable for me.
Okay.
Yeah, I have another experience. They offered me that management position that they were hiring for, despite my lack of experience, just because of the conversations that I've been having and what I was able to do on my own learning.
You're demonstrating that you're going to fulfill something.
Right. And
You got some curiosity and some follow through.
Yeah. I mean, I turned it down because I want to strengthen my technical skills first, but still, I was really appreciative for the class just to prepare me for that.
Something to
Do that.
work toward. Okay. I'm curious to follow up with you from here. Have a good one. Nick, come on in. How you feeling?
I'm good.
Good. You feeling sparky?
Sleep. I wouldn't have been that bad if I didn't get pulled over.
That's not good.
My right tail light.
Well, it could have been a lot worse.
True.
There's a lot of other reasons they pull you over.
Yeah. No DUIs yet.
Or are there? Do you give them any reasons to pull you over?
Just send my tail light. He's walked away.
Don't ever give them a reason to pull you over then.
Yes.
Okay. I've got another scheduled for 9:30, so we'll see if she shows up.
You just said in an email something about final meeting, something like that. I'm not actually done with the class. I'll send you something on Saturday again. I'll finish the book, and I'll at least when the book is finished, I'll send you pictures of it sometime before the 18th.
You've been sending me updates as you go, right?
Yeah, I've been sending you updates.
I've given you a little bit of feedback, but probably not a lot, right?
Some, we've had some meetings and some
Yeah.
emails, which is fun. I was thinking about the time. You talked about the time. Something to think about. I mean, a lot of my classes, I just now try to do things as fast as I can.
Time is a surrogate, well.
But if you think about it, though, I was thinking about it, for my fitness, I mean, I work out, it varies per week, but, most of the time, at least 4 times a week, sometimes every day.
Mm-hmm.
So if you count that as time for the class, but obviously,
this is why I call it a surrogate, because what we're really after for a class is not putting in time.
Sure, you learn something.
Yeah, what are we here for? Learning,
Yeah.
growth. And it's easy to say. It's a different thing to say. How do you ever capture that and qualify it or quantify it or do anything with it from a quality perspective?
Right.
To say, how do you know if you ever? Yeah, this is such a fun problem to wrestle with. I enjoy it, but I also get crazy by it.
I really did think about. I didn't come up with much good stuff about the measuring quality. Mm-hmm. Honestly, I didn't come up with hardly, if anything at all. But I did think about it. I really did think about it.
And some of the things that I find is that the quality lives in the detail. That's why when you come in with whatever you have for reports, a lot of times I'm trying to drill in and get more detail.
That's cool.
Because that's where I find that things get better if you swim in that detail, and you're always looking for how to make things better, a little more efficient, a little stronger, a little bigger. That's really the only way that the quality comes. If you're not looking for it, if you're not actively seeking for it, it doesn't come.
I'm making habits out of this class.
Awesome.
So class fitness, like right now, county trainers. And, it's right. And it's been great. And I'm going to continue to do that, and I want to make it always, so I'm trying different things, learning as I go along the way. I like it. It's been good. I'm motivated. I'm going to keep going with it.
Yeah.
As far as family history, you need a big family history part of your life, not just like a one-time project. I haven't told anyone this, but
I'm doing this for my wife.
No problem.
For Christmas.
Dude, that's sick.
This one was, I've had fun.
Yeah.
I'm going to print out just little things that I'm finding about her family. And my paradigm on it is this. It's my wife she started to get into family history when she was called as a family history consultant, and I was too. We were doing it together. We started to get into it, and then she got pulled away on another calling. She's never been able to get back into it. She's wanted to, but it's just, she keeps, there's too many other things in there. And I get that. But there's something that tugs at me with her and family history. And so, one thing I went up and I prayed about this a couple of weeks ago. What do I do about this? I won't get too much into this, but my goal is to introduce her to each family member as if it was them telling their story to her. And so, I'm building a binder, because having a physical thing makes a difference. So I'm building a binder with all of her family, all of her direct Welder family line, because her father was a convert to this church, and there's not as much family history work that's been done on that site. So I'm going back and just going each person. How can I have them as if she was crossing the veil and meeting these people? What are they going to talk about with her? And this is kind of fun. I'm enjoying this process immensely.
A different perspective I hadn't had.
And I'm enjoying it immensely and finding that, wow, this is powerful. Anyway, okay.
That's cool. My New Year's resolution for next year is going to be at least every festival to do something like this.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to do that for next year.
I've done Pennsylvania County marriage records because I'm trying to find some of my wife's family marriage records.
No way. That's cool. That's hardcore. That's
hopefully, we'll see where that goes. I'm going to help with this project. Hopefully, it yields something sometime.
I'm still going to write you a paper on what I got out of all this.
Okay. And what I'm after is not a paper. If a paper helps facilitate the end goal, great, do it. And I think the end goal is, like you said, starting to develop habits and patterns and mindsets and looking for ways to constantly get better as a project manager. And that's where, when you say, if I count time towards my fitness, sure, my recommendation there is count that time, but also look at the subset of time relating to that says, how much of that time was invested growing as a project manager? And you probably find that there's all kinds of other things going on in your life where you're learning and growing as a project manager, not just through that project, but through all the other things that are going on in life anyway. If you start to become aware of that and watch for it, I find that a very powerful pattern. As I've taught this class over 10 and 11 years, I'm starting into 12th year now, that's what I found that's most powerful. It's not learning methods. It's not just being able to regurgitate facts about project management. It's changing my habits and my mindset and the way that I do things. That's what's valuable. And what I find is, after 11 years, I still got a long way to go. I still got a lot to learn. But I find that not depressing. I find that invigorating. As I look at the bigger picture of this and say, well, I can see evidence that Heavenly Father and our Savior using techniques and principles and patterns like this in the creation of the world. It makes me think, these are eternal principles. And the more I grow into them, the more capable I'm going to be entrusted with whatever the Lord needs to entrust me with. Whatever opportunities come my way. And so these are, to me, I see these as fundamental patterns. that I've got to continue to learn and wrestle with and grapple with and learn how to apply to a variety of different situations in my life. And the more I learn to apply that, the better I become. That's cool to me. Most of us, and this is why I asked the question at the beginning of the semester, how many of you are here because, why are you here? Number one reason is it's a required class. And the underlying assumption that is unstated there is, I don't want to be here. Right? And I was the same way. I took project management in college. Guess how I felt about it? I don't want to be here. And the longer and the farther I go into life, I'm like, why do I reject that so much? Why do I fight against it? I think it's a core part of the natural man. Doesn't want to be organized, doesn't want to be responsible, doesn't want to be accountable. And yet, those are the things that are going to make of us what we want to become. So I've tried to fight less against that mindset of, I don't want to be here. I tried to look at, how can I embrace this stuff and how can I let it work for me? How can I become something that really builds me? And I find life in that. That's a good sign to me. But I find that it also has to be unlocked through our agency. We have to choose to want it. If we can't choose to want it, we'll continue to persist in our existing patterns, not be what we could be. Good visiting with you today.
Thank you for that.
Good work.
Okay.
We're not done yet. Let's push on to the finish line, whatever that means.
Sure.
There's going to be more after that, whatever it is. We'll cross some lines.
Yeah.
Emily, what do you know?
What do you know?
This one you?
Yeah.
Good luck with that one. That looks like fun.
Oh yeah, super fun. Got my final on it today.
Awesome.
Before you.
Do you have any 3x5 cards?
Not here. I have some at home, but not here.
Somebody should just give me something.
I might want to just check in our office, our secretary's office. They have all the supplies.
Oh yeah.
Check with them.
What's that?
328. It's just the big fishbowl one that you see right here on the.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Yeah. How you doing, Emily?
Good. Okay, so these last 2 days, I have been working on brain work, and
Are you having fun with it yet?
well, it makes more sense to me now.
Good.
Okay.
That's progress then.
So the very first thing I realized, I'm like, rubric is kind of worthless if I don't even understand what it's asking me.
That's true.
So that was one thing that I learned, and then the second thing I was like,
use rubrics in school a lot in that way when nobody really understands what's going on and they don't really help on that.
yeah, it's just like, oh, okay, I have to do this. Okay, cool, you know.
To check off.
Yeah, that's one thing I realized, and I was like, okay, I have that settled. The second thing that I realized was that just numbers make more sense to me, you know, and I felt like if this was a rubric that was going to be meant for me, and I'm supposed to understand it the best way, yeah, the number system is what really works for me.
Okay.
And so that's what I did here, and I kind of tried to explain it in the way that, the way I understood it.
Mm-hmm.
So like a 1 would be like, I pretty much didn't try, and I have the same level of knowledge as I did from the beginning. And number 2 is like, there was some attempt, but I did more like dependent in mode, and that made sense to me.
Yeah.
And then number 3 was more like average, and like I completed work, I understood things, but then like expectations was like seeking beyond what needed to be done, and like kind of transitioning and like things that work for me, things that don't, and just having that realization.
Okay.
And I felt like that was the best.
That was starting to click for you.
Yes.
Good.
And so then what I decided to do is kind of go through your syllabus. And I kind of combined, you know, you told me you had 2 sets of kind of outcomes and things that I needed.
Mhm.
So I was like, okay, some of these make sense to me and some of them don't. So I'm not going to use the ones that don't really make sense to me.
Okay.
And so I grabbed a couple from one side and the other, and I wrote them down here. But then what I did was I expanded them into like smaller,
Awesome.
yeah, smaller
Because a lot
chunks.
of them are kind of compositing.
Yeah, it's just like a lot of things. And so I was like, well, I should really look at each individual one. Like, for example, like the act and not be acted upon. What does that mean? And I was like, well, learning how to learn and like taking initiative to start projects, collaborating as a team member, and like really like not just oh, what do you want me to do, but actually like collaborating.
Wait, I don't have to wait for somebody to tell me that.
Yeah.
I could figure that out.
And just like something else was like creating your own deadlines. I thought that was really important as part of like project management. And that's what I did, the same thing with being proactive and and able to operate in poorly defined constraints. And like I thought about, well, communication is like really important in those things, and asking questions and stuff.
And the proactive nature of that communication starts to change the interaction.
Yeah, it really does. And so I knew that with my team, when we did the first project, I was like, oh, this really helped me to like really get started and push myself through. But then I was like, oh, well, with the stakeholder, I forgot that you were the stakeholder. I thought I was
I'm one of many stakeholders. Right?
Yeah, because like
your adoptees and the people over in Africa, those are stakeholders too.
That's
Communicate
true.
with them?
Well, I didn't. Yeah. So I was because in that one, Carissa was more of like the one who was in charge of that. So for that one, I just gave myself like a 2 because I didn't really get to experience that very well. But I
find that it changes the nature of your work when you do.
Yeah, but like I was able to understand it as like time went by and like all those things. So I was like, I realized it at the end, but like that's why I didn't give myself a 1 because I'm like, at least I realized the importance of that. And then this one, so develop additional comprehension and capacity for stewardship and consecration. I think I had a little bit more harder time with this one. But the stewardship, it kind of makes sense. It's like being like that leader and stuff. So one of them I said lead a team through a project and taking responsibility for like assignments that I would take. But then the consecration part, I wasn't really sure. And then this morning I was thinking about it and talking with my roommate. And I was like, well, consecration is just like what it means to give like everything. And so I thought, well,
learn about consecration.
Yeah, and so that was one thing, and I was like, well, how am I giving, And I'm like, I'm giving my time, and so I think this one was like took time outside of class to complete projects, and like I'm giving up time for this, and so I just thought about it like this morning. That's why I haven't like.
Can I give you another thought on that one?
Mm-hmm.
My favorite definitions of a sacrifice is one that it sounds stupidly obvious when I say it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's one that's impacted me a lot, and I've come back and thought about it a lot, and it becomes more and more meaningful every time I come back to it. But in President Hinckley's book, Standing for Something, he defines a sacrifice this way. He says, a sacrifice is giving up something good for something better.
Mm-hmm.
Like I say, it sounds stupidly simple, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that is such a sophisticated definition. Because if you expand it a little bit, it's giving up something that on the surface appears good. We give up that good thing. As we give up that good thing, we exercise faith. And as we exercise that faith in the Savior and in His plan and in His purposes, we find something better.
Mm-hmm.
And every time I come back to that definition, I can kind of expand on it a little bit, and I kind of tweak it a little bit. I just find that there's such a richness and such a beauty in that simple statement. Sacrifice is giving up something good for something better.
Mm-hmm.
And if you watch that in your life,
it's true. Yeah.
It's never not true. And yet we fear giving up the good in some cases. Oh, but I have this, I don't want to give it. But we inhibit what we inhibit ourselves of obtaining the better in many, 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 many instances.
Mhm. I think like kind of applying it to like the class, like having a structured class is like good,
right?
you know.
Uh-huh.
But in a way, like having us structured the class and like how we're gonna progress is even better because we get more out of it.
If you let yourself, you will.
And so I feel like
Growing in your capacity. So what you did here is a great implementation of a phrase that comes back to my mind a lot about project management. I think project management, one of the ways to explain it is to say it's about learning to take matter unorganized and organize it. Guess what you did there?
Yeah.
I had a bunch of stuff out there. It's kind of matter unorganized, right? You took it and organized it. You took it and made it meaningful, and all of a sudden, look at what happens.
Yeah.
Wow, cool stuff happens.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of growth that comes from that.
Yeah, it was definitely like when I first saw it, I was like, this applies, but this doesn't. Like, I remember like on Monday when I met with you, I was like, I just don't know how to grade myself. You know, it just doesn't make sense.
You're not the only one.
Yeah.
I have about 50 out of my 58 students that are kind of in the same boat. I have about 8 that have at least come in saying, I get this. This is working. I finally found something that's working.
Yeah, and I was like, I'm not going to be able to do it. But like in that same day when I was like sitting down and just kind of like up here just writing, oh well, okay, what, like if I were to use this, like what helps me, what doesn't, and like what, when I tried it, because I tried like these two, like what worked, what didn't, and stuff like that. And then I started coming down here, learn, like the learn, do, become, and I'm like, okay, like how can I use that to, you know, show it?
There's a bunch of stuff out there.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so that's what I did.
Okay.
And so, and then like another thing that you had on there was know how to create, coordinate, execute, evaluate a project and a project plan. So I divided it up, creating some sort of
That's a bunch of pieces, isn't it?
Yeah, and I'm like, I can't just give myself a number for this. Like, there's like different things. And that's what I did. And right here would just be like, oh, like you have to know these things, or like the project itself, you know, to have an idea of like what exactly I'm grading, or like right here compare it to like the beginning of things, just to have a better idea. And
growth needs a frame of reference, right?
Yeah, and so, and also this I got it from the syllabus, be able to list and define core principles of project management and all those things. And so that's what I did right here. This is not a 2.5. And then be self-regulated, lifelong learner, grow in self-mastery. I kind of felt like that was one of the more important ones.
I think so.
Because I mean, like, I could learn all this right now and then just be like, okay, well, you know.
I did that too much in college.
Yeah.
Because that's the way that's kind of the culture. That's how you did college, right?
And so that's what I divided that up into, like, do I plan to continue to learn and implement project management skills after this class? And on this end, it's just more like justifications and just like if there's more information that I have, like other documents. And then do I have motivation? Because I remember I gave a presentation on motivation, and I'm like, that's dang important. Like, if you don't have motivation, you're not going to get very far. So I thought that was important to have motivation to continue to learn more about project management. And like I said, like, yeah, I do, because even like now when I would do like things, I would notice myself like being like, oh, I need to plan this. How, like, even day-to-day things, I'm like, okay, how am I going to be most effective, like, for that day? And like after, like, this is kind of like project management as a joke, and then just like I started like thinking, okay, like what plan do I have? Like what could, like, if there's an inconvenience, like what can I do about it? Is there something I can take out in case like something happens and stuff like that? So even like unconsciously, I'm like doing it.
I know this feeling.
Yeah, and so I feel really good. And that's why I was like, I'm gonna add an extra one, Do I feel satisfied with what I have learned in this class? Because I can tell you all these things like, oh, this is what I learned, but do I feel like good with myself with what I've done?
Disciplined agile delivery uses the bar of you delight in stakeholders. And you're a stakeholder.
Yeah.
And if you're getting to that point where I think the evidence of a delighted stakeholder is they're willing to share it with people and they're excited and they're happy about sharing the results.
Yeah.
That's a delighted
how I feel.
stakeholder. if you can get to that level with as many of your stakeholders as possible in a project, you're doing something really good. Because that's hard to truly do. You can talk about satisfying stakeholders, and that's one level. But truly delighting your stakeholders to the point where they want to actively share what's going on with people. That's a pretty high bar to strive toward, but I think it's a very worthy one to always have as your standard.
And so, that's what I did, and I kind of like put everything together, and I was like,
It looks like kind of a percentage basis.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I feel pretty good with that. Like, I mean, I'm not like.
The best part about it is there's a lot of meaning behind that grade.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of learning that it represents. How often do you get that in class?
Not very often. I just cross my fingers and I'm like, I hope I pass this test,
To me, it's the meaning behind it that is really the whole purpose of why we do grade. But this is where I get a little nervous. If we focus on the numbers too much, we wash away all that meaning.
Yeah.
So I like numbers, but they need to be supported with the qualitative side. We've blended that really well.
Yeah, and that's why
now there's purpose. Now there's quality management to this now, right?
Yeah, because
you see where you're at. You see where you can go from here. You're doing something right.
And that's why I was like, a score. Okay, it's good to have like a score because I need to have like a grade. But why am I giving myself that score? And that's what I did right here. And if I had more information, like I said, I had like reflections that like I did and just like my like class notes that I would take and like just how organized. Yeah.
Share this in a way that students
Yeah. Like just like a template.
I don't know the answer to how to share that yet. In the past, we were using Google Community and it was working. And then they shut down Google Community. So I've still been, ever since, that was back in April, I've still been looking for a solution ever since. I did find some potential candidates. So far, your section has been using Teams.
Yeah.
It's kind of not working. It's kind of working, but not really.
Honestly, it didn't really do me much.
It doesn't bring you in, or doesn't. It's not, the user interface isn't quite enough
it's
to really draw you in.
Because we didn't really use it at the beginning. It's not something that, this is something you check constantly. No, it's just.
So I did find a couple of other platforms that I'm going to try and experiment with. I'd love to have people this semester try it if they want, or I've got to keep experimenting until we find something that fits and works better. But for now, being able to share with me.
Yeah.
Or share it out on Teams because that's what our classes agreed to do so far.
Okay. Yeah, I'll do that.
And I'd even encourage you to talk about this with other people in the class.
Okay.
Either in a presentation format or just one-on-ones or in small groups. It's up to you to determine where to do that. But there's a lot of people struggling to try and figure out how to do this kind of thing.
Well, I mean,
I don't have to do it the same way you do.
Yeah. I mean, like, if there was time now, like, at the beginning, I could even just talk about it for
That'd be
a
great.
little bit. Yeah.
Okay.
And I also have, this is, like, kind of, like, irrelevant to, like, what we were talking about. So I was wondering if it was possible for you to give me, like, a, kind of like a letter of recommendation.
Sure.
But
reference kind of thing or an endorsement?
Like a reference pretty much saying that.
A generic one?
Yeah, like that I've been in school, that I've worked.
Sure.
Yeah, and all these things.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Perfect.
Where do I need to send it to a particular place or just give it to you to have something you can use later?
Just for me so I can
legally I'm supposed to have you sign like a FERPA release or a waiver to be able to do that, because some people think that that might have something to do with the grade, and we can't release anything like that unless you give us permission. So there is a FERPA form, a FERPA release form online. Just search FERPA release BYU Idaho, you should be able to find it. If you can't find the BYU Idaho one, you can use a generic law networks just to see.
This one. It's like really super hard to find.
It is. There's
Like no organization.
There's nothing easy to find on the university's website. Not really hard time making things.
This one.
Yeah, try that one. Yeah, that looks like it. Looks like that one's changed a little bit, but I think that's it. That looks like one of the something similar. If it gets really formal.
Yeah, no.
I'm not sure if that's the right one or not. Oh, financial information. That's not the one you want. Status, information, consent to release educational records. That sounds more like it. To the following persons. Following information. Initials. Okay, so you can kind of customize it here. Yeah. You can customize it a little bit. That should work.
Yeah. Alright, then I'll just give this here what.
Just fill out as much as you can and send it to me, and I'll fill out my values.
Through email, or do you want me to do this?
Either way,
Okay. Okay, through email.
you just have to have something to give us the right to do that. Which is, if somebody thinks that's a good idea educationally.
Yeah. Okay, so am I like, I guess.
The one bit of feedback that I'd give you
Yeah.
is primarily right now your evaluation is self-assessment.
Mm-hmm.
Don't ever be afraid of seeking out additional levels and layers of that assessment. Your team members on your team, I think you guys did some of that, where you did some evaluation of each other.
Mm-hmm. Like I'm not formally
Yeah. And sometimes it's good to show your other team members, this is how I did on self-assessment.
Mm-hmm.
Could you help inform, or validate, or verify, or improve
Mm-hmm.
that in any way? And you have to, people get really nervous about giving you evaluation information or really critiquing your work or your abilities or your claims. You really have to give them permission.
Push them. It's fine.
You do.
Like honestly.
And you have to push them. I want real feedback of things because I want to grow.
Mm-hmm.
And you really have to push them on it to get real feedback from them. But you find that when you do, it becomes really valuable.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So I'd encourage that.
Mm-hmm.
It follows kind of the 360-degree review pattern. I find a lot of value in that because it's looking at yourself from as many different perspectives as you can, getting as much feedback as you can. But you have to learn how to not recognize that everybody that's giving you information is biased.
Mm-hmm.
You in your self-assessment are biased.
Yeah.
People that are giving you information are biased.
Mm-hmm.
But I find that it's in the cross-checking of those biases and understanding where those biases come from and why those biases are there that help you hone in on where the truth of the matter really is.
Mm-hmm. Someone can see you super great, but someone else might see you like, oh, you're not doing this other thing that I care most about.
And I get that all the time because I get student evaluations every semester. They say, greatest teacher I've ever had, worst teacher I've ever had. And I have found, personally I interpret it this way, and I don't know if I'm right or wrong or not, but personally I interpret it as, I think I need to be able to be kind of polarizing as a teacher. If I'm not polarizing, I'm probably not pushing students to try and do something that they, because I can play school, and I've done that. I've taught my classes that way, where I play school. Here's the lecture, here's the slides, here's the notes, take the test. I come play
Yeah.
school, and what I find is that students walk away with this much, and many of them flush it almost immediately. You know, it's gone as soon as. There will be bits and pieces that they might recall later, bits and pieces that they might use later, but it's pretty sparse. That's why I've shifted to when I put a lot more of it in your plate, like you pointed out, you walk away with more if you let yourself. And I think that's worth it. I think it's worth the risk that some of my students are going to hate me, tell me that I do a terrible job, and they'll tell me that they never learned anything from me. And they'll say, yeah, you're right, you didn't learn anything from me.
But it's because sometimes I feel like they don't put their part, or they don't like
Uh-huh.
push themselves a little
Exactly.
bit more.
But when I have that learn to act and not be acted upon as the number one outcome of the class,
It does change things.
it changes a lot. And it's caused me to rethink how I approach education. That's worth experimenting and exploring, I think.
Yeah.
Because that's where I'm learning stuff. And as a teacher, that keeps me on more of a growing edge.
Yeah, it's true.
I want to throw it away sometimes and say, forget that one. If I can just get rid of that dumb outcome, I could go back to playing school and just getting along fine.
Yeah.
But that dumb outcome is also the one that I find makes all the difference.
It's true. It's really true. I mean, and it's helped me enough. Like, I mean, it took me a little bit, you know. It's not like at the beginning I really struggled and I didn't understand anything, and I'm like, this is confusing for the rest of the semester. But then as I started, like I said, understanding and seeing like the purpose and seeing like what I need to learn, just like the act and be and not be acted upon.
I find that's my effort to achieve the third part of the mission that says prepare students for lifelong learning.
Yeah. And that's like important because I mean, life is what comes up next. It's true. So,
Okay.
Thank
Good to
you.
visit with you today, Emily. Thanks for what you're doing.
Yeah, thank you.
I don't remember your name. Thanks. Pickerel? Yeah, that's the last name? Okay. Have a good one, Emily. Jake. Do you go by Jake or Jacob or Jacobius?
What'd you say?
Or Jacobius?
Jacobius. That's a new one. I haven't heard that one. I heard Jacob, but no.
Oh yeah, or Yakov.
Yeah. Or you ever watch Count Microscope?
Yeah.
That's a good one. Jacopo.
Jacob. That's right.
The first makeup. So we talked the other day, and then I was like, I'm gonna meet with someone tomorrow in like academic advising. So I talked to him. I kind of explained, kind of like how I'm feeling about IT stuff, and I'm like, programming's a little bit tricky for me, and I'm not really clicking with it like I want to.
Okay.
So we went over some career stuff, and he goes, have you seen this one? Here, so he showed me applied technology, and it looks kind of cool for the sake of pick and choose your own adventure courses. So I was like, let's try to go with networking. But I was thinking, like, because you were kind of like, you might want to do jobs more like what was it, the cloud? You mentioned something like that. So I was wondering what like courses or classes, like this is the course catalog. Then on another page I have the applied technologies one. So I was wondering, like, kind of like what works well if I were to kind of go down that path. Like I like this sort of stuff where it's kind of.
What I would say is kind of let me ask you this, how far are you stretching yourself? Are you trying to target a career path that's going to move you up the corporate ladder kind of thing? Are you looking like a technical specialty? Are you looking at a managerial path? Where do you see yourself going on there? Because that makes a difference with what I have to tell you. Just tell me what options you would consider and which ones you would not. I don't want you to pick out one path. I just want to get a feel for what you're.
Kind of want to. I wouldn't be opposed to like kind of maybe a bit more kind of climbing corporate.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think that'd be fine. I want to look at it first, make sure it works well, but I think that I wouldn't be opposed to that for the most part. The what was the other part?
Managerial versus the technical.
You're just kind of on an IT team and you work in a business.
Sure.
Okay.
Technical specialists usually they get into like a particular area of technology and they just go deep into it. A technical generalist means that they really like the technical stuff, but they like to be a jack of all trades in the technical area.
Right. I probably wouldn't want to do that actually. Like just kind of with no jack and trade. I'd rather actually specialize.
Okay, that gives me a little bit of a thought around this. Okay.
So would you want to see this or the applied technology side?
Probably applied technology. That's probably why this speaks to you, because if you want to go deeper into an area, this one kind of reflects that. I'm not sure it really accomplishes it, but it reflects that direction.
I would want to focus on a certain thing now.
Yeah. If you're currently, I think networking is still a great entry to mid-level job path, and there are paths for specialists to go really deep into it. There are people that are saying that area is drying up, that it's starting to become less. I don't think I believe it though, because when I go back and check numbers and data, at least our students leaving here, the numbers are pretty consistent. We're still getting about the same proportion of students that are going into networking kind of roles as they have historically. So in the short run, I think networking is still a good solid path, and it gives you the path to specialize and go into become like a network architect or a network designer or a network engineer.
Okay.
Those are common roles and common paths, common job titles. Usually it goes network, CCNA is a certified network associate. Then there's like a certified network engineer, and then there's a certified network architect. And I'm not using the exact certification terms, but that's kind of how people tend to classify the progression.
CCNA?
Yeah, so CCNA is usually the entry-level networking guy that this is what we target, that everybody that's in the IT field needs to come out ready to take a test like that, because it's kind of entry-level. If you can't get at least that far with networking, you're kind of hosted.
You're kind of booked solid today.
Yep.
So this student, he sent you an email that
261 he was worried about.
Yeah, he said he'd really like to hear from you sometime today.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll do my best.
And I started an Azure DevOps. I added to my board.
Okay. I just got feedback from somebody saying that they found Azure DevOps to be a little inflexible with their processes, and so we may not settle on that total long term. Just so you're aware.
It doesn't seem.
You want to try it.
It doesn't have as much features as Trello.
The one thing
It's
I like
pretty,
about it is
simple.
that you can create custom columns. In Trello, you can kind of do that. It seemed like it was more powerful in DevOps, but I haven't tried the two out to know for sure.
Yeah, well, I kind of like it so far. I mean,
Okay.
I got all my sticky notes and notes all on there.
The reason that I think we might go to it is that it builds in pipelines, which allows us to, if we're making code changes or changes to websites, we can track the changes right in there, and we can collaborate on those changes across the board. And it gets us into the mode where we've been trying to figure out how to do that. We can bring both of the workflow and the actual code flows together in Azure DevOps. That's the one reason I think we might end up using it.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I like it for the board,
Okay.
the Kanban board or whatever.
If that's functional, then I think we'll use it for a while.
Yeah, so you can see mine. I've added you to mine.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay. So networking is a decent path. Another related path is cybersecurity. We've looked at trying to develop a certificate in that. We don't have it yet, but it's a path that I want to talk to you about because I think it relates.
Okay.
When you're looking at these certificates, we have a system administrator certificate, which pulls together networking, security, and operating systems into one certificate.
Okay.
Which one of these? I don't remember which one.
Web development, software quality assurance, computer programming, auto service, database, graphic design, computer assisted design, computer support.
So what number are you missing there? Is it 1,
12, 13.
13. Is it 13? It's 13 on. Let's check 13. 13.
No, it's not.
Okay. Let's go back to the full list then. Let's see if we can
Period, private computer.
support. That's 164. Software quality assurance. That one's already showing.
It's not on here though, the computer security. I'll go
It's,
through the whole list.
I know it's in there. There it is, system administration. It's 115. Yep. Okay, so if you look at it,
115 is the one we do.
okay, the courses, yeah, that's the one that I think is the strongest
Yeah.
for that path. For both the networking and the security path, that's the certificate that is probably the strongest right now. From there, like I say, we're trying to develop a computer security certificate. I don't know if it's going to be the right option, or I don't know if it'll be available to you by the time you graduate. How far along are you in school, and how much you have?
This is my fourth semester, and
Two
I kind of
years
have.
left.
I think I have generals completed for the most part.
Okay.
It's just a lot of heavy course stuff now at this point.
Okay. So Bachelor of Applied Technology would work for this stack. If we go back and look at the CIT degree, let's compare that. These are all courses. Degrees. CIT degree. Information Technology Bachelor level. We're getting rid of a lot of those.
Which one?
A lot of those other programs that are out there, the clusters and stuff. We're cleaning that up for the next catalog year, but we haven't been released yet. Okay, so you'll see this is for 2020. This drives me nuts. This should be showing 2019. Let's go back up. Because you're on the 2019 catalog here. I'll switch that back. 2019 to 2020. Okay. And we can look ahead a little bit. I'll talk about both, but if you're under the 2019 catalog here, I'll start there. Bachelor level. Okay. Okay, so you've probably taken some of these classes already.
Yes, design development, web front development, networking, object-oriented programming right now. Database programming. I think I've just done history database.
Okay. So if you're that far along, I would say that the CIT degree is probably your better option between the two. That's me personally. I'll talk through the options of why. I think that's the case because actually, with where you're at, you could switch to the 2020 catalog here, and either one would be viable. What the difference is when you get to your next level programming class in the 2020. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. In the 2020 catalog year, we made a change there, and we give you an option. Instead of just taking another programming class that's object-oriented development, the other option that we give you is a 361 class. It's called Advanced Scripting. It's written in, you do it in PowerShell. The nature of the class is more operations-based. You're trying to accomplish tasks that are more like a system administrator or a network administrator would be worried about, the kind of things that you're trying to build in and automate in your system. So it opens up that option. The 325 class, the database programming class, again, we open up another option in the 2020 catalog here. It's going to be called database administration. And at that point, it's less about programming. It's more about optimizing a database so that you're going to be dealing with security controls inside of the database. You're going to be looking at process and query flows and speeds.
Yeah. I don't know about that though. Yeah, this was like, well, from what I tell, like from the first time I took it, I was just like, I don't know if I like this. Just because
And I understand that.
It's very similar to.
But the kinds of things you're going to learn in the administration class are very similar to what you're going to be dealing with from networking, from system administration, from security. All of those areas, you're going to have some strong overlap in that database administration class. So if you're saying I don't want to take the CIT degree just because of those couple classes, there are more options available. And that's all I'm trying to tell you. I'm trying to inform the decision. You can still make the decision. You've taken this communication essentials class.
This is like kind of a graphic one. Or like,
No,
that was 135.
It's interpersonal communications and public speaking kind of stuff.
Oh, but no,
Because in the 2020 catalog year, you don't have to take that one. It's off the list.
That makes sense.
So, where you've still got to take these classes no matter what you do, whether you do Bachelor of Applied Technology or whether you do CIT, those new options, I think, give you a stronger basis for the overall CIT degree. And I think you'll like those options better than looking at this and saying, I've got to take a full certificate in computer programming or web development or database. I think this is actually a better path for you than taking other certificates over here. Computer support, yeah, it's going to be probably fairly easy for you, but I don't think it's going to set you up well for your career. Because if you're looking to go kind of mid-level or advance your career, computer support tends to sometimes pigeonhole people into an entry-level job, and they have a hard time breaking out of it in some organizations. Not in all, but in some. And typically the reason for that is that it's communication. It's people work with computer guys and they want computer guys they can talk to. And if you can be a computer guy that can talk to people, then you can usually move yourself up the ladder a little further, a little faster.
Okay.
If you're a computer guy that doesn't want to talk well with people, then most of the time they keep you in a computer support role on the back end, not the customer's facing side, but the back end side, just making all the stuff work all the time.
Okay.
So you become kind of computer support technician.
Support. Okay. And that's okay. So that's more support.
And a lot of times your career options tend to become limited on that
Okay.
role.
Like the problem is I still don't know half of like one.
The best way to learn to navigate that, go get an internship and start businesses that are how they operate.
Okay, so I'm a little worried. It's like what strikes me is that like a lot of like web development, I'm just like I don't want to do this. I don't like it.
You already passed it. If you've already taken 230, you're done. You don't have to take any more. But if you go back to this path,
I feel like okay, but I felt like everything was kind of like intertwined with like kind of with Zell on the side. Like yeah, I do a lot of stuff on it.
mm-hmm. So in the 2019 catalog year, you have to take 6 elective credits in the CIT area. In the 2020 catalog year, it increases to 9, but we open it up to a CS, CIT, web development, or electrical engineering. Any of those courses, 200 level or higher, will accept. So it opens up more elective options, but still apply to your major. Okay, now let's go back to Bachelor of Applied Technology and say, okay, if you're going to follow that path, which certificates are you going to pick and why?
I was looking through. I think, yeah, so yeah, that one kind of stood out because I'm like, that looks like an easy one.
Mm-hmm. And it can get you, yeah. It makes it easier to get your first level job.
Right.
But if you're looking to push past that, I probably wouldn't encourage it all that much. It was really designed for international students that are trying to get their first job. That's what it was designed for. It wasn't designed for domestic people because in the U.S. you have a different job market here than you do internationally.
Okay.
Oh, I'm late. I've got to get to class. So, there's the quick overview.
Okay.
I don't have time to go much deeper than that right now. We'll have to come back in.
Did my scheduling work? Because I signed up for 9:45.
Yes, you did. I was just slow because we had other people.
Okay, that's
that were
fine. I
slow
get
as
your
well.
swamp then.
I had 2 people that were both late, and that caused everything else to get late. So it's the last 2 weeks of the semester that happens, and I try to create cushion into my schedule so that I can deal with those. But the 10 to 10:15 was that cushion.
Okay.
So you ended up in the cushion. It's not you guys, okay. Alright. So, since we don't have cards, just do it with a post-it note.
Sure. So I do here. I write down the grid I think I want.
And we'll discuss it. familiar with planning poker?
No.
Okay. Anyway, get it, go. Okay. The nature of planning poker is it's meant to be a communication vehicle to allow people to open up and discuss things that they often see from different perspectives, but don't always see why the other guy sees it from the other perspective.
Okay.
When you're in a team, the goal is to get to consensus. And a lot of times that's done by rounds of discussion. So when I go about doing planning poker, I'm more interested in the discussion than I am the conclusion. But that's my own bias. Okay, so you want to go first or should I go first?
You can go first.
Okay. I'm probably not comfortable with an A because in my mind the time requirement and the nature of what I'm trying to achieve in the class doesn't feel like it's been met.
Okay.
And it's not just total time in projects, it's total time growing as a project manager.
Okay.
I feel like you did awesome growing in your ability as an analyst. Your ability to break down and analyze a situation, and especially like the supply chain and logistics kind of perspective, you did awesome with that. But that's a component of, but not really fully featured perspective on project management.
Okay.
Follow where I'm coming from?
No.
Okay. And what's your thoughts on it?
I think my time commitment was beyond the minimum requirements. I put a lot more time and effort into this than was the minimum. I feel like I've managed to kind of fulfill my needs out of the class. I'm not really looking to pursue, project management as a career. I've already started applying the stuff that I've learned in class though to my life in the way that I'm going to be a project manager. And so I think I've done my part learning and growing, and just I know the amount of effort that I put into this project in this class. I was here every day, so that's essentially where I sit.
Okay. You want to go another round?
Sure.
Okay. Okay, ready?
Yep.
I'm comfortable with anything within this range.
Okay.
And it sounds like we're getting closer.
Yeah.
Okay. The distinction that I heard that drops this off the scale for me is, as you talked about, I totally agree with the amount of time. Like I say, I don't doubt that at all. The amount of time and effort and energy and focus that you put in was awesome. And so that's why I'm comfortable dropping that off. That's probably my biggest piece of feedback at this point. Any other questions or things you want to discuss on this round?
No, I think I've said my piece in my argument. So.
Okay, if we go there. Are you still pushing for that?
I'd like a B+. Okay. I'm really working on GPA right now because I want to keep grad schools and getting in. I don't want to be worried about my GPA about getting into a grad school. Okay. So I want to be able to apply for basically whichever one I want and not have to worry about my GPA, which is something that I can't go back and fix at this point.
It's true.
I've already retaken all of my classes that I can, the 3 classes that I'm allowed to retake for better grades before averaging out. So I can't just take another class.
I get nervous then about your statements that I've learned everything that I feel like I need for going on to grad school.
Mhm.
I can guarantee you're going to get project management roles the rest of your life.
Mhm.
So I would probably say, let me do it with you this way, and then I'll see what that tells me. How do you think of or define project management? Go ahead.
So I think it's the organization, the process of organizing people to complete a project.
Okay.
I think it's knowing your people, knowing their strengths, knowing their weaknesses, knowing how you come together to create a stronger whole. I think it comes down to really knowing your people.
And where do you see your strengths and weaknesses in these areas of project management?
I think I'm really personable, and people trust and like me. I can talk to people, and I can organize them.
And I've seen how you interact as your group in the corner. You have a great rapport.
Yeah.
And people are really they're happy to be there.
Yeah.
Even though Ethan and Alex didn't always feel like they were gaining much from the class, a lot of times they came because of the interaction that you guys had. And that's saying something.
Yeah. I find that a lot actually. Is that people enjoy being themselves around me. I think that's one of my biggest strengths. I've had last semester I had a group where we were kind of just goofing around. He's like, I'm not this goofy of a person. I don't know where this is coming from. We were just being funny, and but I mean I find that everywhere I go.
But yet you have an intensity to you to where you still get to business. You need to get to business.
Yeah.
And having that breadth is a real strength.
Yeah, I think that I can bring people up into a place where we can have fun, but still understand that work needs to get done, and that there's a time and place for, there to be that rapport, that team building. I think it's real team building. I don't like artificial team building where it's like build a stick figure, whatever. Like, I like to have a real team building experience, which is, I'm sure someone needs to do more.
So I think I'm comfortable with it. What I would encourage is that you continue to seek out that strengths and weaknesses, not just from your perspective, but from others as well.
Okay.
Would you be willing to do something with that between now and the end of the semester?
Yeah. So do you want to email me more details about that so I can get out of your
Sorry, I
office?
didn't mean to make you
No, it's
out.
fine. Sorry, I've been helping you with stuff.
Oh, no, I don't. I'm not planning.
Sylvia's next.
I am graduating next semester, and I'm a minor in CIP. And so I have very specific selections for my electives that I can take. But I want to take 2 classes from Notre Dame. One of them is not on my list. So I just want to know what the process is like to get it approved, because I don't want to not be able to graduate or.
A couple different routes you can go. You can go through. There's a substitution and waivers online web application that I have access to, as well as any of the faculty here. Any of the faculty to talk to, they can put in a request. A lot of times they don't realize that they have access to it, but they do. And then the advising office has access to it. So any of us can create a request. Where it's a minor, I think it'll route to me when it relates to your minor. But what's your major?
Business management.
It might route to them. Because a lot of times it's by default routes to the major. But whoever creates the request, it'll go to one of those 2 department chairs, either me or the business management department, to review it. Usually when they come to me, what I'll do is I'll look at the classes that are affected, and I'll talk to the course leads or the instructors that are over those courses, and just make sure that they're aware of what the request is. And as long as we're comfortable with what you're proposing, and usually I like to give you that flexibility as long as it doesn't look like it's stretching you outside of something that we would be comfortable with saying.
Yeah, I've done all the prereqs for the class that the one class requires. So it would just be the way that the
Which
audit is.
classes are they?
It's just a .NET class.
365.
Yeah.
And you're replacing.
Instead of
plugging that
doing,
into
so I have like a set amount of electives that I can choose from,
Okay.
and so it would just be replacing one of those electives.
this is a minor related elective. Right?
Yeah. So I have to take like 2 more required classes next semester, and then 2 more electives, and then I'm done.
So I don't have time to sit down with you
No,
and
that's
through
really
myself. But any of those, you go to any of your faculty mentors, any of the other faculty here, either in this department or the business management, they can create it, or you go to the advising center and they can create it.
Okay, great.
Whichever of the 2 department chairs.
One other question. Do you know who's in charge of the event tonight for the Creative Works Conference for the RCW?
Who's in charge of it?
CSE, yeah.
Oh, there's a separate one. William Clements to be your point of contact. Bill Clements. Yep. Hey, good. We've got to keep the door closed today, though, because if not, then I'll have a constant stream of people poking their nose in, and we won't get very far very fast. So we're already 7 minutes behind. That happens.
No problem.
Okay, how can I help you?
So mostly I spent most of the time outside of class. Like I work. So to start, so this guy, he has 3 businesses, like kind of branches in Utah, American Fork, Midwell, and Park City. So he's my family friend. My dad's from back in India, Hyderabad, where I'm from. So I came here. So since I came here, I know him. And he said, you can take care of one of my banks. So I said, wow, he doesn't have knowledge of, like, he didn't go to school much.
Okay.
So I thought, like, wow, this is good experience for me, like a practical thing, a real kind of experience in a lifetime. So I thought, okay, then I signed up for this class. Then I thought something else about the project management class, but it's something which is good. And then I thought, like, oh, this is perfectly fit for my, what I'm doing. So, so, like, if you ask me, like, what you have learned as a project management this semester, a lot, real experience, and also my church calling helped me a lot. I'm a second counselor in Sunday school presidency, so that played a vital role and work. So basically, like church calling and my real work. And I'm an international student. He pays me through cash and like kind of, I can say he sponsored me on my schooling class, stuff like that. So yeah, after I look into that syllabus and everything, the terms, the project management terms, the language. So I thought, like, wow, I'm a pen and paper guy. I have to, as you said, you record something. So I'm kind of, I can say, old school guy. I like to put pen on paper, and write stuff like that to remember. So I've written some of them. So it's basically, experience is nice. So this is basically like an explanation. Like this is the thing, independent, and study. So, so I wrote here like the evaluation stuff like that here. So, uh, I can say, like, and I learned a lot in this semester as a project management, like not in this like a theoretical class, but outside of, like in real life experience. So I placed myself in these 3 categories, and I saw myself even in church callings and my work. So even in the projects, I guess I've done in this class with Ryan, South Africa, Ryan Tyler. and other students in my class. So
What you doing with Ryan?
he's in my 341 class, network design. So we are teams and we work. We, we set up the phones to network design. So so at least I put myself in these three categories, and I've seen myself how much I grow. Like kind of it's a evaluation measurement myself. So I can say like a project manager actually learning a leadership quality. Like it's a term is different, but you are project manager in your work. You are project manager in your church calling actually, but the term is different. And and I think uh, every organization need a project manager. Like in aviation, I love aviation. Uh, project management need. I can say like a senior pilot is a project manager. He manages the things, and the first officer he flies, and second officer he takes turns. So it's a kind of leader. He leads. He depends sometimes on a first officer, second officer. My president, the Sunday school president, he depends on me. I depend on him. I depend on mostly my duty in calling is I um, I, I assign teachers for this coming week who teaches like what which room. So kind of I depend if somebody somebody they say oh I can't teach this Sunday, so I have a backup plan B. So these are all like sometimes I depend on her, his or her teaching. The presidency depend on me. So it's like even at work, the boss I can say the boss is depends on me sometimes. I depend on him sometimes to make his decisions and to see uh, implement what happens to implement. So basically, I've grown up in as a project manager. I've grown up in the real life work. I can say. So uh, I've grown myself as an independent also. Okay. One day, this like a Bob Proctor, he said, you should have a multiple resources of income, not only one. So he's an author, great author. I love to read books. So he said you should have a multiple resources of like income, not only one. So um, one day I want to have my own business. And also I will work, but I will somebody.
I just do that to make you time aware.
Oh, okay.
I know I was a little bit slow starting with you too.
No, you can let me know when to start. So, like,
Can I take a look at this?
Yeah.
So you've written down some notes that relate to all these, and you're kind of giving me a verbal.
my kind of real
Okay.
explanation.
Okay. Do you mind if I take a picture of this?
Yeah.
See? Okay, because this at least gives me something more to go from. Do you have other artifacts or things that support what you're describing?
Yeah, I was thinking.
So you want this something else?
This is something.
It's not a different class. So is there anything else relating to project management?
Mostly it's like my real life experience this past 3-4 months I can say. I used to drive to Utah every weekend, Friday, Saturday, to work and to have the real experience as a traveler.
So,
I have like a real life experience. I don't have
as much as you can capture from that real life experience, I'd like to could share with me, or anything you could come back and show me? I'd love to get into some of the details of that. I find that artifacts, when I say artifacts, it's any piece of evidence, anything that kind of shows or represents the work that you've done and where you've gone and how that's operated and what you've learned from it. I think there's a lot of different ways that we can establish your growth as a project manager. Some of those include outputs and deliverables and products and services that you've been able to provide through your work or through your personal life that demonstrate good, strong project management. Sometimes it's capturing or demonstrating or diagramming the processes by which you accomplish that work. And other times you can also include your personal growth. Some students will keep a journal like this. Keep notes throughout the whole semester. I've got a couple of students that have done that, and then they just turn their notebook in at the end and show any of the thoughts that they've had, the things that they've used, how that's worked, and they capture notes all along the way to be able to represent and show what they're learning. I myself really like the style of, if you look in Canvas, there's an assignment titled Principles of Project Management in the Creation of the World. Yes. And it lays out a format for how to capture principles. And that's the format that I found that I really like. Is I look for some kind of a concrete example, some kind of a real example, or some kind of an artifact that would represent that experience. And then I try to say, okay, that's what this specific experience is all about. Then I try to describe the general format. If I take that experience and take the things that I'm learning from it and say, how could I take this and apply it to other projects or other scenarios or other parts of my life, like you're doing with church and work and school. You're picking out experiences from all of that to be able to show what you're learning from a project management perspective. That's kind of how this is laid out. You've got the concrete experience or the specific experience. You have a general format or explanation of that and how it applies to other projects. And then I try to take that concept and boil it down to a single statement or a phrase. And that's what I feel like a good way of describing a principle. That's what a principle is. Elder Scott describes it this way. He defines a principle as a concentrated truth packaged for application to a wide variety of circumstances. And so that's one of the formats that I found is really helpful for me. I'd encourage you to go back and do something like that. Find a way to capture what you're learning and how you're growing as a project manager. There's no one exact scientific way that you have to do it this way. I give those as options and ideas for how you can come back and look at how you can capture your learning and be able to describe or explain it to somebody else, how to communicate it. Does this help? Okay. Sounds good. Thanks very much. How you doing, Dave? David? Yeah, by David or Dave? I see a few people were calling me. Oh, okay.
Hi, you have reached the Godfrey. We are unavailable right now. Please leave us a message. Hi, you have reached the Godfrey. We are unavailable right now. Hi, you have reached the Godfrey.
Hi, you there?
Hi, Dad.
Hey, how you, Claire? Good. Is, is it snowing outside?
Yeah, it's coming back with
Do you like to see the snow?
having lunch. Lunch?
Good plan. Yep, pretty soon.
That's a grand idea. Just come home.
I probably wouldn't be as cranky if I just came home now.
Put an extra hour just so you can come home.
I think I put in extra minutes. I'm not sure about hours.
I bet you have.
It'd be like how my students describe things, right? It was hard, so therefore I put in hours.
No.
Yep. So, I was gonna try and pay tithing. Do you owe some still?
I think so. Let me go check. You didn't learn anything.
You sure about that? Okay, that made more sense.
Sorry. Mortgage came out in my mind.
Actually, I already did that one, so yep, we're good.
Okay, I'm pretty sure. Oh.
I thought you had one more.
Yeah, I'm trying to leave it out and then have to take it.
Yeah, I thought you had one more still.
I have one more too.
Hi, Claire. What you thinking? are good, huh?
Know where it is. So, I guess you could look and see when I deposited it to the bank, and if you paid timing since then.
November 22nd. Yep.
That's my last one. And I put it in the checking.
So you want me to check that too?
What?
Do you want me to check the date on that deposit too?
Yeah. Should have been around 750 or so. Checking.
Okay. That would have been December 3rd.
It was December 3rd.
Yep.
What did you say?
Yes, that was December 3rd.
I wonder if that's out of the car. Can I go look?
Sure.
I'll get that for me. Hold on.
Hey, you goose. What are you doing, goose? You being a goose? You being Claire the goose? It's good to be a goose, huh? Are you a duck, and a goose? Do you like to play the duck, goose game? You like to play that game? That one's silly, huh? Yeah. What's that? Oh.
I would not want to do graveyards. Oh, I would never do that. Never.